that bill basically just waiting the president's assent now. It's all but certain. The scene now set for a legal battle, it seems. How long could that drag on for? And what does it mean for a debate around the First Amendment?
Yeah, I think there's going to be, there's already promises that the company will file lawsuits trying to overturn this law and saying that it's unconstitutional and violating the First Amendment right to free speech. But the lawmakers say that they're very confident they'll prevail because this is a foreign-controlled company, and there's no right to free speech for a Chinese company. The right to free speech is for the people on TikTok. And so the argument is that this is very similar to regulations that the government has on who can own broadcast stations, for example, or radio stations. They've had these kinds of regulations in the past, but of course this is an immensely popular social media network that 170 million Americans are using. And so that makes it such a valuable resource if you're the Chinese government. And this is, something where it's going to be hard to see why China would be willing to let it go and let the algorithm and the wealth of data that it has potential access to here turn over to the Americans. So it's going to be potentially a long, dragged-out fight, although the legislation itself, it's supposed to be resolved, this divestment, within a year. But that'll be up to the courts to decide.
Yeah, the divestment within a year, so that takes us well past the US election. But in terms of a Chinese response, I mean, we've got the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, about to head to China. To what degree is this going to dominate the agenda?
I think it's going to become one of the big issues between, U.S. and China relations because, if you think about it, there could be sort of tit-for-tat kind of things with retaliation. And there's certainly a lot of American companies doing business in China as well. And so I think that's something to watch, is whether this will have broader impacts on the overall relationship, very important economic and political relationship between the two countries. But one thing that was clear, just talking to senators in both parties this week, is just how badly the lobbying effort, which was sweeping, expensive, and by TikTok to prevent this vote, just backfired. Senators were irate that even their own children were coming under assault. The children who were using TikTok were getting inundated with messages saying, contact your senators to tell them to oppose this bill, and they felt that was heavy-handed. So we'll see what happens next, but I don't think there's a whole lot of love right now for China generally in the Congress, and certainly having this kind of control over something that half of Americans are using.